Welcome, welcome, come in. I'm Gene Sparling and this is Forest Path Gallery. This is the workshop where I do my work and make my things. The gallery is in here. I am primarily a wood turner, do some sculpture work too. I'm primarily a green wood turner. I work mostly with local hardwoods, which are, as you can see, we have an abundance of beautiful woods that grow in the local forests. I have the most beautiful farm in the state outside, and that's where most of this material comes from. This is a piece of spalted hackberry that I spalted a couple of years ago. All of these black lines and colors and patterns are made from the decay organisms. I rub the outside of these with dirt, basically to plant fungal organisms in them. And as you can see, the fungal and mold organisms are growing, and they'll make beautiful colors and lines. And
so this is a process of molding them for,
yes, yes, fungus. And it when we get back in the gallery, and of course these are different shapes and different forms. That'll be a little pot. And this gives you an idea of how the bowl comes out of the tree. The tree grows this way. I'll cut a chunk of tree trunk, split it in half, and then I'll generally make a bowl out of one half and then a bowl out of another half. If I want a natural edge bowl, then the rim will be here. If I want a traditional bowl, then it'll turn the other way and the rim will be on this side. When two black lines, when two fungus organisms or colonies are eating wood in a tree and they come in contact with one another, they touch, they make one of these black lines. It's called a margin line, and it essentially divides the territory between the different colonies. If a fungus colony is eating wood and it comes to a margin line, it won't cross it. This is a piece that tends to impress people. It's made out of a tree. This tree grew like this. The tree, center of the tree was right here. This was a giant old walnut tree that grew on the banks of the Saline River in North Garland County. But you can see this is where the bark sat, as is this. You can imagine the curvature of the tree going right around like this. And so that's what makes all these edges. It's not the best of equipment, just a bunch of old cobbled up hand-me-down equipment. This is the lathe where I do my primary stuff. I have us a piece of spalted hackberry on there today. That's the bark. You can leave the bark on bowls. As you can see from most of my work, tend towards naturalistic forms. I've heard it called Native American meets Scandinavian design, but it's just something that evolved naturally. I didn't know I had a style until I made a room full of pieces, and then it became apparent, and lo and behold, this is my style.
And how long have you been doing it for?
About 15 years since I started trying to become professional at it. I use lots of local hardwoods from my farm. This is cherry. I have ash. Now this is ash that's been exposed to iron, which turns it green. This is a piece of elm. Probably some of my most popular pieces are spalted wood, and this is a piece of holly that has been invaded by decay organisms, fungus and mold organisms, and they're what makes these colors and patterns and black lines. I can also take holly and bleach it, and this is a piece of bleached holly. This is actually from a famous tree that grew in downtown Hot Springs, near where the Humane Fountain is now located.
How do you get such a smooth look?
Well, that's just a lot of sanding, and for some reason I'm not particularly a perfectionist about many things in my life, but my artwork, I just have a compulsion to make it as good and near perfect as I possibly can, which is somewhat of a wonder to me as well.
And now I interrupted you. You were going to grab something over here.
Oh, no telling. Well, just going through more woods. This is walnut, beautiful black walnut. You kind of have to like walnut. It's in the rule book. I do lots of forms. Most of my forms are natural edged. The waney, waving, varying rims you see on these vessels is not something I've carved. It's the way I take it out of the tree that causes this. This is actually where the bark would have sat on the outside of the tree. That's why we call it a natural edge bowl. The bark would have sat right here. This tree grew like this. The center of the tree is here. This is where the bark is. So all these convoluted edges you see, that's not something I've carved. That's just the natural outside surface of the tree. Same thing here. This piece would have grown like this. And so you can see the outside of this tree had ridges and grooves. It was something pretty interesting. Have a little faith in yourself. Always do excellent quality. Do as good a quality work as you're capable of doing. Oh, just don't be afraid to take the extra risk or risk it all, and try to please yourself, and you may be surprised with how many people are also pleased by what pleases you.
Hi, my name is Daniel Mark Cassidy, and welcome to the dungeon. Our theme, Diana and I, Crooked Little Studio, my wife, we try to be playful with this career. We have fun with it to the extent that we can, and these paintings that I've just been referring to, with the origami dragons, for example, is referred to as the kingdom, and all that is really an excuse for me to play in an imaginary world and paint it. That's all it is. But within the kingdom, we expound upon that, and that's why this is the dungeon, and that's why this ceiling is the ceiling that it is. Well, I've been making changes to it lately, a few changes in the studio. Amongst other things, getting ready to do some filming in here, which will be new for me. But specifically to the easel, I've built it to just accommodate my needs. I'm going to be including some 24 by 30 panels, and I want to be able to go up to, and have gone up to, 30 by 40 inches. So this will actually allow me to do that comfortably, and it kind of fits. It's almost compartmentalized to fit beside the workstation. And these, you will not find these, you will not buy these in a quote art store. These are made for waxing furniture and other things like that, but they're stipple brushes, and I use them all the time to soften. That has everything to do with the surface that I get, and it's kind of unique. It's how I obliterate the brush strokes. There's a lot of technical process that takes place to get the end result. That's not terribly exciting. It's more laborious, but that's just the way it is. And that's why you see me surrounded with objects of all different kinds. It's because when I'm setting these things up, I use these objects as metaphors and symbols. And I need as many. I work better surrounded by options, you know, and as many options as possible. So you see me surrounded with in some cases odd things, in some cases recognizable things, but maybe I'll present them to you in a way you haven't seen before.
I teach 7th through 12th grade. This year I have hands-on art courses for 7th and 8th graders, and I teach art appreciation to high school students. And in this crazy world right now, being able to teach virtually is a benefit and advantage, but we are definitely along with the classroom teachers, experiencing things that we haven't had to deal with before as well. I also design seamless repeat patterns for fabric and wallpaper.
Which you did for the dress you're wearing.
I did. This is one of my latest designs, and you'll see like the textures in here. These are actually, I photographed some of my gel prints. I can't remember if this is the exact one I used, but I can adjust the color a little bit.
Who makes the fabric?
This is a print-on-demand site, Redbubble, where you can buy t-shirts and pillows. I've got all kinds of products on there with lots of different patterns and designs. Some fabric, you can buy pillows. My phone case is one of my patterns. If I've got a chunk of time, and sometimes that's not possible as a teacher, especially at the beginning of the school year, I want to get in here and just play with these colors and these shapes and the textures, and that's a really good outlet for me. If it's the end of the day, I don't have a chunk of time, I still have some grading to do later, I might pull out my iPad and do some design work then, so I can just sit and have it in my lap and I don't have to make a mess like I do here with this.
Tell me about these over here, if you don't mind.
These are block prints. The traditional media is linoleum, and I have used it before, but there's also a material called soft cut that is super easy to carve. It's like carving butter, and it's such a relaxing process. It's a block that's kind of flexible, and you use carving tools in it. So what this is, like you'll see this one here, on the block I carved away everything that was going to have the white paper showing through. And then you ink it up, kind of like I did the gel press, only it's firmer, and press the paper onto it to get the impression. With these down here, it's the same process, but I went in, like on this one, I have some colored pencil added in with that. I like to print on like old book pages and vary the backgrounds up a little bit. Some of them have some extra like markers, opaque markers on top of them. So these are all just greeting cards that I did, a couple of small pieces.
Excellent.
It's really cool getting to know the students through the virtual, seeing them in Zoom and interacting with them that way, and a lot of emails taking place, and it's fun, and it's fun to see the artwork.
Good.
Can we see your studio?
Glad to have you here. Come in. This is it.
And how many years have you been in this studio?
Oh, in this studio, about 20 years probably. In the house, 40 or something like that.
Well, take us through the process of what you do here.
Okay, it's kind of divided into work areas. I mean, they blend in one another, but this area right here I kept open because except for the pandemic, every Thursday night we have a life drawing group here. So this is a model stand, and we have about 7-8 people that have. That's why all these easels and so forth are around. So I keep this area pretty much protected for that reason, so that we have space. Then this is basically the production area for me. Painting there. The big board is for like if I put up large canvas or large paper, that kind of thing. Also when I'm painting now, I will take something like this if I've got watercolor on it, prop it up and be able to wet it down, let it run, do that kind of thing. The drawing board is really the principal thing. I've used it for years. When I primarily did pen and ink, it was particularly important because when I was doing large 30 by 40 portraits and that kind of thing, I needed this large board. So now it's a kind of service for everything. These are the tabourets that contain more stuff than I ought to own. I'm a typical artist. I hoard materials. I mean, stuff I'll never use, but I just can't pass it up. I just can't. So anyway, and then this is, of course, as you can see, just a basic tabouret area. I have things like watercolor drawer, pastels, inks, tabourets. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so you can see I paint here primarily. Right now I'm doing mostly watercolor. So that's a fairly easy medium in the sense that it's confined to space. I don't need a lot of space like with the oil or with other things. And this is just basically records, and this is watercolors that don't have anywhere to go. I used to do some sculpture with Jim Larkin, and that's what this started with. This is oil-based, and I never finished it. It just kind of sits here. But so this is just kind of the basic collecting area for stuff that materials and what have you. This is basically a desk area where I do the computer work. I'd have my records, files, and so forth here. I cut hair when time gets hard. Just call people in and give them a shave, cut their hair, anything they want. But the interesting thing is anybody that comes in this studio, this is the chair they want to sit in. This is the kind of mop-up area with a sink and just where I can clean brushes and all that kind of messy stuff. And then the library, which is important to me. And then this is just kind of the area where I relax. Sometimes I do sketching here, sometimes I do things like, this is a sketchbook, just do a little bit of watercolor sitting right here. It's real easy for me to do, it's comfortable. This is our sun porch, and the reason we built it was when we built the studio onto the house, we killed all of the light to the interior of the house. So we were starved for some place to be in sunlight. So first of all, we built a porch, then we screened it, then we glassed it. And this is where I come in the morning and I do the crossword puzzle, read, have my coffee, do some writing a lot of times. It's just a really favorite space for us. The cat loves it, the cat thinks it owns it. It's important to have your space. I mean, it can be a small space if that's required. But it's really important to have a space that feels like it's yours and it's for your creativity and so forth. If you're just all over the house or you're just kind of making wood do from one place to the next, that's confusing and it's discouraging. So ideally you start small and you grow. And my first studio was on my carport. I enclosed it. It's about 400 square feet, if that big. I was in it for 10 years. And it was fine, but just outgrew it. And then finally had the opportunity to do this. So this has been, my goal was to have a place where we could do the life drawing group. That was always a big thing for me.
So here it is, and you don't have far of a commute, do you?
Not too much, no. 3 steps.
And here you are.
Yeah, as I get older, those 3 steps may become a little more challenging, I don't know.
For sure. Well, thanks for inviting us into your studio to see your workspace and learn a little bit about the process that you go through.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm all for the Alliance and the studio tour. I think it's a great contribution to the community.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Wooten, and this is Three Gals Gallery, and it's my studio. It was a gift. It came to me after I'd had a major mental deal. I'm bipolar, and a friend said, let's try this, and it worked. And I speak to those that are dealing with mental issues, and art is awesome for you. Okay, I'm going to show you about my coloring book and the process that I get to from coloring, from doing. These are beginning. Like you'll see, I've got things marked out. I'll trace these and take the things out I don't like, add things that I want to add. I'm going to show you real quickly how I do what I call doodle dangle. So this is doodle dangle. The first thing you do is make some marks. I call these doodles. The big line, the first line you draw is a doodle. Now when you connect that blank line, that blank space, or the end of that line, to the next line up here, or to whichever line you want to go, I can take this and go woo! And have another line. After you get your major lines done, you just start connecting. That makes a lovely flower. So I think that's the direction we're gonna go. We got leaves and petals coming out this way. Now remember, this is magic. We're gonna put sunflower crisscross. We're gonna add a stem with another little doodah there, another little doodah there. You've got the semblance of a sunflower. Most of them are alcohol ink and some are watercolor. So I work in the mediums of ink, watercolor, sculpting. That is a creche or a nativity scene. Yeah, they're all bottled, all recycled. This is my recycled stuff. I'll take pieces like this and I think, shoot, that could be really cool framed. This is paper towel. And all of these creations are paper towel. So I save my things that I clean up with, my paper towel, and I recreate them into pieces. My pieces right now are mostly the creche, Mary and Joseph. These are one of my favorite things to do, and it's paper towel, flour, glue, and water, just like, you know. And then if they don't have enough color, I'll add a little alcohol ink. But look, this guy was the one that bore the frankincense, I guess, because I don't know what it looks like. So we put that little antique bottle there. And let's see, oh, where's that cute one? Oh, I love him. Because he's got a crown on with a crystal. And then he has dreadlocks like the creator that made him. A blank canvas and a little paint. You may throw it away 3 times, but just keep looking at it and turning it around and enjoy. It doesn't have to look good. It's for you and for your heart. And if you happen to sell some, we are all for that. And it's a little different than most art pieces are, but I love her and I'm not sure I'm going to sell her. This is not specifically Mary and Jesus. This is just mother and child. I've got crystals all around her to perk her up a little bit. Then I've got oh, here. I've got a wasp nest tucked under there and a fossil here. And then I think I can turn her around. And then she's coming up out of a tortoise shell. Thank you so much for coming to visit me today. And if you need to get in touch, if you want to buy something, then you can go to 3 Gals Gallery. And, or you can go on Facebook to Rosemary Wooten.